Do you ever feel like your photos are just okay? Yes, you have shot some absolute heaters in the past, but a lot of what you shoot just feels kind of mediocre. Well, I think there's a few extremely common mistakes that a lot of photographers make when approaching their photography that keep their images looking a little bit boring. And today in this video, I'm gonna break down those mistakes and also talk about how you can fix them as well. And before we jump into it, all of the photos in this video were edited with my Film Vibes preset pack. So if you guys vibe with my photography style, I'll put a link down below and you guys can check it out. But the first reason why your photos might be looking a little bit boring is because your subject isn't all that interesting. Now, the subject matter in your photo is the foundation of your photo. That's what your photo is about. And if your subject isn't interesting, it's going to be hard to capture an interesting photo of that subject. And I think a lot of photographers hear this and they think, oh, okay, that means I need to capture something extravagant. I have to capture a subject that's rare or dramatic or beautiful. But that's not what I'm saying here. Just because something's ordinary doesn't mean that it can't be interesting. Some of the most interesting photos ever made have been of incredibly ordinary things. But the subject in those photos still has some sort of an extra quality that makes them interesting and makes them worth looking at. And on the flip side of that, just because something is beautiful or dramatic doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be interesting as well. For example, one of the things that I see a lot of photographers do is going to a beautiful destination that's known for being beautiful and capturing a photo and thinking that that translates into a beautiful photo. But just because something is beautiful at face value doesn't make it an interesting subject. And on the flip side of that, say you capture a photo of something extremely ordinary and simple, like a chair. Yes, it's just a chair, but there's something more to that chair that makes it interesting and makes it worth looking at. Maybe it's the texture, maybe it's the way that it's positioned. There's some sort of an extra quality about it that makes it worth paying attention to. Okay, but how are you supposed to know what makes an interesting subject? And I think this all comes down to taste. As a photographer, taste is what allows you to notice interesting things, and it's what tells you what is worth photographing and what is not worth photographing. It's the ability to recognize when a subject has real visual potential for a photograph. But how are you supposed to improve your taste? Now, for this, I'd usually say you just need to go out and shoot more and pay attention to the things that you're photographing. But actually, in this scenario, I think one of the best things that you can do is actually consume more work. And I know people hate the word consumption, especially in this day and age, but I actually believe that consuming genuinely good work and paying attention to it and looking at the subjects that are in those photos is one of the best ways to pick up on what actually looks good and what looks interesting in a photo. So I would recommend buying the book of your favorite photographer, sitting down and looking at the subjects that they're photographing and asking yourself, why is this subject interesting? Is it something that the photographer's doing to capture that subject in an interesting way? Or is that subject just inherently interesting and the photographer had the eye to actually notice that? Subject selection is a massively important part of the photography process because, like I said before, the subject is the foundation of the photo. And if you can start off with an interesting subject before you even get into light and composition and color and detail, your image is already off to a great start. But building off of this idea of subject selection, the second mistake on this list is focusing too much on that subject and not paying attention to what's around that subject. And this is an honest mistake that so many of us have made, myself included. You have an interesting subject in front of you and you know it's interesting this time, but you become so hyper-focused on the subject itself that you forget all the other important things about a photo, like the light, the composition, the color, and of course, utilizing that setting around that subject to tell a much deeper story about that subject. The subject is important, but if you neglect everything else that makes a great photo great, then your photo will likely be a bit mediocre. So next time you're out shooting, remember to zoom out a little bit from your subject and account for every little detail in your scene. Evaluate how the light is hitting that subject. Look at the background behind your subject and ask yourself, is that background actually supporting the story that I'm trying to tell of my subject, or is it detracting from it? And if it is detracting from that shot, is there something I could do? Maybe it's moving myself to change that background to enhance the photo as a whole. And this is one of the things that I take the most pride in when it comes to my work. Yes, I like to capture interesting subjects, but I make sure that I'm doing so in an environment that enhances the story of that subject. I pay very close attention to light, color, composition, the background behind that subject, and how everything kind of plays together into this one cohesive story that supports that main subject. A good photo isn't just a good subject, it's a good subject inside of a frame that supports it. Now, the next mistake on this list actually goes hand hand in hand with the last mistake, and that is relying too much on your lens effects, whether that's a super shallow depth of field, lens distortion from an ultra wide lens, or using a super telephoto zoomed in focal length to really focus in on that subject and ignoring everything else in that composition. I see a lot of beginner photographers picking up their first professional lens, whether it's an ultra wide, a telephoto, a prime lens, etc., and really leaning into the effects of those lenses, thinking that it adds something to their image. But a lot of the time, they're actually just distracting from the story of that photo, or they're being used to hide from some of the mistakes in that photo, whether it's a poor composition, bad lighting, or just a subject that's actually not all that interesting. If you're relying too much on the creative effects of your lenses, you might be neglecting what actually matters in a photo. The subjects matter, the light, the composition, and how all those factors culminate on the story of a photo. Just like any other creative piece of gear, whether it's a black pro mist filter or a flash, the creative effects of lenses are just another tool in our tool belt, and they should be used intentionally, not all the time, and certainly not to hide behind some of the pitfalls in our images. And honestly, I think that applies to gear in general. The best gear isn't the gear that does the creative work for you. It's the gear that removes friction from your workflow so you can focus on the work itself. And for me, one of the biggest points of friction in my life right now is trying to take important work calls while I'm traveling or I'm working from a busy airport or a noisy cafe, which I often do. In loud places like this, the background noise completely drowns out my voice, making it really difficult for the person on the other end of the call to hear what I'm actually saying. This was actually a huge problem for me for a long time because I'm often taking calls on the road. That was until I picked up Anker Soundcore's new Liberty 5 Pro and Liberty 5 Pro Max earbuds, who is actually the sponsor of today's video. Because the call quality on these earbuds is so ridiculously good that I can take my important work calls pretty much anywhere, even in the noisiest places. They actually won the Guinness World Record for call clarity, and the difference between these and my AirPods Pro 2 is night and day. I tested these out next to a super noisy street near my house against my AirPods Pro 2, so you guys can hear the difference. This is a microphone test using the Anker Soundcore Liberty 5 Pros in a noisy environment. I'm speaking at a normal volume, and this is what somebody on the other end of the call would hear. And this is an audio test using the AirPods Pro 2 in a noisy environment. I'm speaking at a normal volume, and this is what somebody would hear on the other end of a call. And as you can hear, the Liberty 5 Pros are so much clearer than the AirPods, which has been incredibly useful for me when I'm taking important calls on the road. And this is all thanks to Anker's new Thus AI chip, which helps with cleaner calls, better adaptive active noise cancellation, extremely fast voice control so you can control the earbuds with your voice. And this has been amazing for when I'm out shooting because I don't have to pull out my phone to adjust my volume or change the track. I can do it all through the earbuds using my voice. They even have a hearing test that you can run directly in the app using HearID 5.0 that creates a custom sound profile tuned specifically for your ears, which is super cool. The Pro Max also adds a larger smart case screen, which I've never seen on a pair of earbuds before, but I've actually found it incredibly useful, and I've been using it to change tracks, switch between noise cancellation modes, and adjust spatial audio without having to pull out my phone, which I don't always want to do if I'm out shooting or I'm working at a cafe. You can even customize the wallpaper layout directly from the screen as well, and for me, I've been switching between a photo of my cat and, of course, my beautiful girlfriend. It also has an AI note taker built directly into the case as well, which can summarize meetings, generate speaker labels, and create a to-do list, which has been super useful for me in planning out some of my shoots. I can just plop this down on the table in front of us, have a conversation with my model or my client, and when I open up the Anker Soundcore app, there's a summary waiting for me covering everything that we talked about in the meeting. And for those of us who travel often, the AI translation is an absolute game changer for overcoming language barriers, which you will undoubtedly come across on your travels, and it works with over 100 different languages. So if you just want the essentials, the Liberty 5 Pro is definitely the way to go. But if you want all the features like the smart screen and the AI note-taking feature, the Liberty 5 Pro Max is definitely worth the upgrade. Whichever model you choose, they both come with a try now program, so if you test them out for 30 days and you don't find that you like them, you can easily return them. If you guys want to check out the new Anker Soundcore Liberty 5 Pro series, head down to the description and I'll put links to both of the products down there. Thank you so much, Anker Soundcore, for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. Let's get back to it. Now, the next mistake on this list has to do with composition specifically, and that is not keeping the energy in the frame. Let me explain. When you look at a photo, your eye is going to naturally hunt around that image and find the main subject or find the main vantage point in that photo where it's going to lock onto. And if there's something in that composition that blocks that eye from navigating around that frame or settling in naturally on that vantage point, the eye is going to navigate outside the frame instead. And when the eye navigates outside the frame, the person that's looking at your photo is going to lose interest. Now, there's a multitude of things that can suck the energy out of your frame. Now, the biggest one that I see is horizontal lines that instead of leaning back into the image, they're leading outside of the image and pulling the eyes away from that subject and outside the photo. This can also happen if you have a subject that's looking into the short side of your frame. So the eye is going to naturally follow that person's gaze and it's going to exit the photo onto that short side of the frame. Whereas if you had them looking into the longer side of the frame, well, now that eye has somewhere to actually go instead of just completely leaving the frame. This is something that you're going to get better at the more that you shoot, but when you are out shooting, I think it's always really important to think about these two concepts, flow and energy. When someone looks at this composition, where is their eye going to naturally flow and where is it going to settle? And we want to make sure that we keep that energy inside the frame instead of allowing it to escape. I actually made an entire video on composition focused around flow and energy. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll put a link to it up there, or I'll also link it in the description so you guys can watch it after this video. But continuing on with this idea of composition, another mistake that I see is having compositions that are just a little bit too busy and the main subject is not clear. I think a lot of photographers want to pack as much as they can into compositions, and sometimes that's okay and that works. But a lot of times, if you have too many subjects in your scene, they're going to start to fight for attention and the eye is not going to know where to look or what to settle on or what the photo is even about. And this problem really arises when all of those subjects or all of those elements in your scene hold the same visual weight. One of the things you'll see in a lot of great photos is there's some sort of a visual hierarchy built into those images. When you first look at those photos, the first thing you'll notice is the primary subject in that photo, and then your eye will start to naturally gravitate around the frame onto the secondary subject, or even sometimes a third subject, and those subjects are simply supporting characters behind the main subject. Now, these secondary subjects are incredibly important. They can enhance the story of your image. They can add a ton of visual interest. And this is something I like to use in a lot of my images because it just makes the images better. But you need to make sure that there is some sort of a visual hierarchy in that scene so it's clear what that photo is about. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do this, but probably the most easy way is to introduce depth in your scene. Now, not only does depth look cool, but if you have your main subject in the foreground or in the midground, and then you have the supporting characters or the secondary subjects in the background, that automatically creates visual hierarchy in your scene, and the person that's looking at your photo is going to know exactly where to look and what's most important. Another amazing tool that you can use to keep the focus on your main subject is negative space. Now, negative space is empty space in our frame that allows us to kind of simplify our scene a little bit and express that visual hierarchy in a more effective way. This could be something like the sky. This could be just having part of your frame in deep black shadows. It could be a blank wall. It could be a beach. It can really be anything. But I think the most important thing that you can do before you take your photo is to look at your scene, look at your subject, and ask yourself, is my subject obvious in this scene? And is there anything in this composition that's competing with that primary subject? And if there is something competing, is there a way that I can reposition myself or maybe reposition my subject to introduce that visual hierarchy in the scene to keep that focus on the main subject? This is one of those concepts that I've been thinking about a lot recently, looking back at my images and noticing primary and secondary subjects and this idea of visual hierarchy. I think it's an incredibly important skill to learn in photography, and you'll start to pick up on it when you look at a lot of your favorite photographers. Having an overly busy composition where you're not sure what the main subject is or what the photo is even about is one of the fastest ways to make sure that your photo is going to be a little bit boring. Now, last but certainly not least is editing your photos in a way that either A, doesn't match the photo, or it detracts from the story of that photo. Because believe it or not, bad editing can actually make a photo a lot worse. I see this all the time, and this is something that I was super guilty of in the beginning as well. I think when a lot of us photographers first start out with editing, we get really excited about all the different things that we can do to our photos. We can stylize them in these really creative ways. We can add a bunch of unique colors, and we could just make our photos look pretty cool. But the main point of editing our photos is to enhance those photos, enhance the story of that image. And if we take it too far, we can actually be doing the opposite. And the way that I think this manifests the most is going into an edit and trying to force it in a direction that it doesn't want to go in instead of guiding it in a direction that it probably should go in. When you force an editing style on a photo, things can fall apart incredibly quickly. The colors can get really unnatural. The tones can start to look a little bit funky. Skin tones can look a little bit weird as well. And a lot of the times when you do force an edit, it really does detract from that image instead of enhancing it. But on the flip side of that, when you guide an edit in the direction that it actually wants to go, in the direction that actually suits it and enhance it and brings out the story or the feelings in that photo, you're gonna have a photo with a much more cohesive story and ultimately a more interesting photograph as well. So when you do sit down to edit your photos, instead of just starting off with a bunch of random crazy adjustments, I think you should ask yourself, how do I remember this scene when I shot it? What was the vibe or the feeling or the story that that scene was giving off? And what are the adjustments that I can make to this image to enhance the story of this photo? And then every adjustment that you make, you have this in the back of your mind. And that's exactly how I think presets should work as well. Presets shouldn't be this thing that you just slap on a photo and force an editing style onto an image where it doesn't belong. It should be a starting point that sets the foundation of that edit and give you a really good starting point that you can build off of and continue to guide that photo in the direction that it wants to go. That's exactly how I use my Film Vibes preset pack to edit my photos. I have over 30 presets in there that match a bunch of different images, and almost all of them give me a really fantastic starting point for that edit. And if you guys do want to check out my preset pack, it also comes with a 45-minute editing tutorial showing you exactly how I use them. I'll put a link down in the description. But editing really is an incredibly important part of the creative process for us as photographers, but we need to make sure that we're using editing to enhance our photos and not force them in a direction that they don't want to go, because that's one of the fastest ways that you can ruin a photo. But those are some of the most common mistakes that I see a lot of photographers making that are keeping their images looking a little bit mediocre. And a lot of these mistakes are mistakes that I made with my photography as well. I think a lot of photographers make these mistakes, and I think it's important to remember that it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually part of the learning process, but you do need to become aware of those mistakes so you can fix them. So I really hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you think I missed anything crucial, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure I missed something, but I also do have a few other videos that follow this format where I talk about a few other common mistakes. I'll link those down in the description for you guys to check those out. Another video I'd recommend checking out is the composition video I mentioned earlier. Also my video about lighting, that one is super in depth. I would highly recommend checking that out. And also if you do want to improve your color grading, I have a video on color theory and how to color grade in Lightroom as well. I'll also link those down in the description. But that is all for this one, guys. I really hope to chat with you down in the comments, and I really appreciate you watching into the end of this video. Thank you so much, Anchor Soundcore, for sponsoring this video as well, and I will chat with you guys very soon in the next one.